last not least, we all know that exercise has benefits. We all hear that constantly, right? Well, let us hear about the use of exercise to manage chronic disease. And again, please remember to stay because you have a task after our last speaker. Brian Kliszczewicz.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about type 2 diabetes. Now, when you think of type 2 diabetes, you might think of elevated blood glucose. You think about all the finger sticks. You might think about the association with the obesity or the Wilford Brimley commercials like I usually do. But if we do not get this disease in check, we don't get it treated, the progression of it is much, much worse. There's an 80% correlation with atherosclerosis, kidney failure, retinopathies that can lead to blindness, gangrene because we're eating, I didn't show you any of the images, but that can lead to amputations. So we want to get a handle on this. In Georgia, there are 1.2 million cases and there are 2 million pre-diabetes with no signs of this actually slowing down. As a personal health care cost, it's $9,600 a year for treatment. For business, they're losing $3.6 billion a year in the state of Georgia. So what if I were to tell you that there is a pill that can stop the progression of type 2 diabetes, possibly reverse it, or prevent anyone from getting it? Would anybody in here take that pill? Would we be interested in that? I would say so, yeah, I'd be interested. Now, what if I told you that pill came in the form of exercise? All right, maybe we're less excited now, right? And you wouldn't be alone. Exercise adherence in the United States is pretty abysmal. And we need to find ways to combat that. There's many barriers that are reported. One of the most common barriers that we do hear, though, is a lack of time, right? I don't have time today. I can't really fit this in my schedule. And so we as healthcare providers have to find ways to circumvent this, right? To find ways to get people to become more engaged. And so that brings me back to 2010, and I'm in my PhD program, and I fancied myself a CrossFitter. And so I'm going to the gym, but what I'm beginning to notice is more and more previously sedentary people are getting involved, or they're getting excited, and they won't stop talking about it. I'm like, this is great. This is what we've been looking for, this type of excitement for exercise. And so I run back to my PhD advisor. I run back over to the conferences, and to my surprise, the field had a very negative reaction to it. They didn't like it. They wanted to keep promoting the traditional-based exercises that already had bad adherence. People weren't really enjoying it. They weren't getting that involved, but this is what they wanted to promote. And a lot of this had to do with their fear for safety. And I was just, but why? How exciting is this that we actually found something that people are happy about and want to be engaged with? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to answer this question, or at least I'm going to try, and I want to go ahead and see how dangerous is this. And so for my dissertation, what we did was we took a traditional bout of CrossFit. It's about a 20-minute bout, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, 20-minute circuit, and we compared that to a 20-minute bout of treadmill running intensity matched. And we looked at blood markers of cellular stress, we looked at cardiac autonomic stress, and we wanted to see what happened. It was great, it was safe, right? There wasn't much of a difference between those two. That's good, all right. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Well, then I graduate and I get to KSU and I decide, you know, this would be a great type of intervention for at-risk populations, but we're not quite ready yet. So with some internal funding, we decided to see what the dose response is. So we looked at a sub 5-minute bout and compared that to a 15-minute bout. And with the gracious funding from KSU, we were able to take a look at various markers of adaptation and cardiac responses. And we wanted to see how they stacked up against each other. And what we saw was they were pretty equivalent. They were equal. All right, this is cool. All right, part 2 of the puzzle. So we figured out that it's safe. We got a minimal dose we can work with, but it's still too intense for, let's say, sedentary type 2 diabetics. So we needed to kind of water this down. So the first step we had to do is take a look at the normally prescribed exercise. We have aerobic training, resistance training, HIIT training was getting pretty popular, some of the CrossFit, but this all had a minimal time requirement of 150 minutes or more per week. And we already figured out we don't have enough time, right? So how can we do this? Well, what we decided to do was we were going to take some of the exciting features of CrossFit and water it down a bit, and we had a modified squat, modified pull, modified push-up, modified squat, and they did it for a 5-minute circuit 3 days a week and gradually progress to 10 minutes and 4 days a week. Not a huge time, but, oh my goodness, guess what happened? Metabolic profile improved. We saw lean mass go up. We saw a decrease in blood pressure. This is great. This is exciting. So what we decided to do is we needed to see this in a larger scale. And so we took this pilot data, and we were fortunate enough to get a federal grant, and this is what we are currently working on right now. So we're doing a larger scale at-home intervention of that type, and we are comparing it to the traditional 150 minutes of aerobic training. And so we're going to try to see what the adherence differences are. We're going to see what the improvements are, and so we're going to stay tuned for that. But this was not ever intended as an end-all intervention. It's meant as an on-ramp to get individuals to get to that 150 minutes, because that's probably the barrier. Too much, too soon. So we want to get most bang for buck early on. Now, ultimately, what we would like to do here at Kennesaw is eventually create a form of a health clinic or health fitness center for clinical populations. Healthy people, where do we go? Gold's Gym, Planet Fitness, and we behave and we're quiet. But where do individuals with clinical diseases go to get the proper type of instruction? Okay, so look under your chairs. You don't get a car. There's no car. But honestly, look under your chairs. There's cards there. It has the information for diabetes prevention. And if you guys really liked what you heard tonight with everyone else's research, there is a QR code. You can go ahead and see what is being done at KSU. Thank you very much.